And last but not least, my dear colleague, Markus Wiman. I'm happy to give you a short overview of what you can expect during next 90 minutes of our digital event. First, we will have Markus, who is Director for Partnership and Institutional Relations. He will introduce a core feature of EU Tech. Then I will provide a short introduction about the role of mobility in smart city. Then, of course, I will introduce our panelists today. Next, Stefan Schäfer will provide a keynote speech, and afterwards we'll start panel discussion with our expert today to understand the different perspective and also experience from our experts before we answering the questions from the audience. Now, I will hand over to Markus Wiman, Director for Partnership and Institutional Relations with the EU Tech, to give us a short introduction about EU Tech Chamber. Markus, the microphone is yours.
There we are. One moment, because I just got out a second ago, but I'm with you now. Please let me just open the camera, then I can start better, I think, with all of you. So there we go. I thought I'm not allowed anymore a minute ago. So good morning, everyone, dear guests, dear gentlemen, dear ladies, dear EU Tech board, dear very nice colleagues from all who are interested in the nice alliance NET is running here. I think what you have chosen today as a topic is really of utmost importance, and I'm really glad that I can participate at least here at the beginning to give some introduction on EU Tech as such. So what I would like to tell you is the following. Perhaps first 2 sentences about my personal role. I've joined EU Tech about 1.5 years ago, helped to kick off 2 alliances, which is the Energy Alliance, which of course should also have a good link to smart cities as well as to the mobility part, and also the one for Africa, where there's a strong interest also to improve the establishment and the advancement of smart cities, what I noticed from previous discussions and engagements. Now my role is Director of Partnerships and Institutional Cooperations. The reason here is that we want to put what I would call a horizontal layer to all the different alliances to, on the one hand, advance with cross-sector collaborations, stepping out of silo thinking, bringing different solutions from different sectors to other sectors, but also to establish stronger links with the public sector, who very often have very promising initiatives, but perhaps not the solution. And I think with technology solution can help them to achieve their policy goals. Yeah, as said, let me first introduce you to some key aspects on what EU Tech is about. I hope you can all see my slides. If you don't see it yet fully, for those who are new to us, please always have a look on the down right of your screen. There's a little icon which shows like a screen with 3 legs underneath. If you press on that, then my slide would grow to the full screen size. Now you should all see a slide which says our vision technology obliges, with a nice hand there. So basically what you notice here is that based on the mission statement, we try and hope to facilitate an advancement and achievement of the SDG through technology. So not to deprive of consumption, but rather to use innovations and future and clean, resource efficient, energy efficient, modern technologies to achieve the following 3 goals. So on the one hand, we would like to have, with mainly European technologies, increase more competitiveness for our stakeholders engaged with us, also to drive sustainability forward, also to create sustainable business models out of this, and again, out of this, then also to create some long-standing growth for all of us. As such, EU Tech was established in 2015. We are a registered NGO and understand ourselves as a facilitator, as a platform to knowledge creation, knowledge sharing, and also to help on certain areas, which I will dig deeper into in a moment. As such, we are a membership-driven organization with about 2,000 and plus advocates. So those who believe that our mission goals are the right ones, or at least amongst the right ones, and would like to support with the services as we provide them in the business growth. So the way on how we are organized, even if this slide is not actual yet, 100% actual yet, at the moment we have 16 active alliances. So what you see here is chapters, commissions, and technology councils has been renamed to alliances. This means that we have some regional dimension in our stakeholder engagement. We have a thematical one, impact one through the commissions, and we have a technology one. Normally, each of these sections is being coordinated or managed through a director, in this case through NET. And then the other part is that we also, in addition to have a regular membership, we then can nominate for those who are very passionate and who are very committed to drive activities, impact through us, can be nominated as the board members. If possible, there are 7 positions available for each of the different alliances. As such, when it comes to our value proposition, yes, we are an independent organization. In that way, we are offering different services. On the one hand, we have our know-how products, what you would see on the top left under publications, white papers, position papers, and also our Visions for Europe magazine, which is on the one hand print version, but at the second level, it's also an online version meanwhile, meaning that everyone who would like to share knowledge, latest results from research is very, very welcome to publish that through this platform. It's an acknowledged platform for any research academy outputs. At the same time, when it comes to knowledge sharing, we are having internal working meetings, but also external public stakeholder events, and we are having all these center with where we help with the matching of interest in matching of technologies and matching of clients. And there are different ways on how to connect them, if it's through a virtual booth in our virtual center, but also through our trade fairs. If we're lucky, also in the future, very closely, we hope that we can re-enter now with seeing that COVID-19 becomes more mild, if that is the right term here, also on a worldwide level, that we can also have more face-to-face meetings again, delegations and bigger summits. We provide for a number of different support programs, which are also available on each of the Alliance websites. I'm sure Ned will share his website also in the chat, so that you can also dig a bit deeper on what is upcoming and what our services here. Basically, we promote our clients, our stakeholders, our advocates through some social media support programs. We help them with digital transformation, as said, to become more competitive. But there's also a number of other activities to give them more visibility, high profiling support on an international level, as it stands here. Those who have an interest, please reach out to Ned, to me, and we will be happy to connect you with the right person in charge to assist you with the different, or to help you with explanation on the different programs. Yeah, as said, some impressions on earlier summits. We are hoping to get here back to this in the second half of this year latest. Let's see what comes. But I think at least when we look into this from the German perspective, I think there's more and more possibilities to meet up again. So also business will become back to somehow usual. We have at the moment still our UTech center. This is a place where we meet, where on the one hand we can hold conferences, webinars, where there are also the virtual exhibitions in our 365 exhibition center, day open exhibition center. We also have a library with all the recordings, with all the PPTs from all the webinars we have been doing, which are in total 200 per year. And so a lot of knowledge which we share and which we keep for our advocates. Please, if you have an interest in to learn more about all of what has happened in the past, it would be also good to speak to Ned here to see how to gain from this information on this know-how which we have collected so far. Yes, very important also for the future, as I think there are the UTech centers so far. One is active and present, which is based in China. So Landing Center is basically what is behind this name. So we help those who apply and are successfully applying to this program with making use of the local offices for free. And they get also consultancy services for free in terms of how to deal with the local authorities, how to gain certain licenses, how to do the permitting, so to really speed up the local entry into a market. We are also aiming to establish these centers more and more in different parts of the world. It's not pending, it just takes a while to establish the right things, but we are looking now into the Middle East as well as to Mexico, Africa, and let's see what else we can do. Those who have an interest to get engaged here or to have a suggestion where we should establish something like this to showcase your solutions, please reach out again to us. I think there are very, very promising ways on how to give you the visibility to worldwide markets here. Coming to the next point, as an NGO, as every organization, we always need to look into our budgets and need to allocate our budget and resources in the most and optimal way. Meaning that with these 3 questions, which are here, and I hope you can all see them, and that the IT has started the poll, please kindly give us some indication on what you would rank as number 1. Would you like us to help you on how to become climate neutral? Would you like us to help you to have a free space when it comes to China entry? Or would you like us to help you on the digital transformation? If you could just answer here quickly, that will be of great help for our further orientation. Thank you so much for your support. While you do so, let me go to the next step, meaning that, of course, we are not only doing these, let's say, online events, but we are also sharing a lot of information through social media. So we are active on Facebook, Instagram, as well as mainly on LinkedIn, meaning that for each of the alliances, we have LinkedIn groups where you can share, where we share any information about upcoming events, webinars, internal meetings. Please join. I will also share the links for the Energy Alliance and Africa Alliance, because I think there's surely some closeness to your topic as such here in the chat in a moment. Please test it. Will be great to see you there. Yeah, with this, I would like to close on UTech, but just one more thing, Ned, if you allow me, I would just like to make one little further information available for all, and that is this information. Because as said, it's not only that we are organizing webinars, it's also that we are organizing half and full day events, where normally in the opening there are very important public sector representatives. In this case, when it comes for the next one for China, from China, but also from organizations their own businesses, the European business, to go to China. So please have a look on next announcements to come. So on 28th, one expo coming addressed to China, another one on future technology in May, in combination with 3-4 alliances in total. So I think this will be great point of or great time to meet up with the different expertise and different experts from all over the world. Please make use not only to participate. There are speaking opportunities. There's also sponsoring opportunities to give you best visibility to about 1,000, if not more, guests, and also to about 300 booths to be started here. And we have then in June as 2 events further, one together with the Latin America Alliance and also the Finance Alliance a moment later. Well, with this, I would like to close from my side. Ned, dear panelists, dear guests, and Ned, could you take over again? And yeah, good to have you all here. Thank you so much for your interest.
Thank you, Markus. Thank you so much. That was really, really great, great presentation of EU Tech Chamber and our activities. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, again. Thank you for joining us for our digital event. We are very confident it will be very interesting for all of you to have better understanding on today's topic. So I will go straight into introducing our panelists today. It's a great pleasure and honor to introduce Stefan Schaffer. He's head of Future Cities and Mobility in AFRI Management Consulting. He has been working with smart cities and mobility more than 15 years. First at the IBM, where he has been one of the founding members of the Smart City Initiative back in 2009. Then in Siemens Mobility, where he has been a head of digital innovation and has been in charge of mobility as a service platform that is operational in Dubai, Berlin, and Switzerland. Stefan has also worked as a chief digital officer for autonomous driving company that developed and deployed autonomous shuttles in Australia and New Zealand, and the New Zealand Transport Agency as a senior manager for innovation. Tilman Klopp has accomplished experience in different industries such as automotive, power generation, aerospace, and rail. He worked with the ABB in power generation business in area project management, supply management. Then he moved and developed his skills as the director, supplier, quality, and development in the aero engine business. Important step in his career was a greenfield project, including ramp up the production in Poland to build a new facility for aero engine components. After managing several years of quality and business experience on a global scale, he moved to shape out and orchestrate digital transformation with the Siemens Mobility, one of the largest industrial mobility companies worldwide. Currently, he's located in Siemens Mobility in Munich, Germany. Nikola Maksimchuk is co-creator, City Gecko sales director at Telemax DOO Banja Luka. Sales director at Telemax with many years of experience in sales and project management. After completing his undergraduate studies in Vienna, he returned to the family companies to acquire knowledge and skills into business of Telemax. Since the beginning of his engagement in the company, he has been committed to creating new jobs and projects. He proposed opening a new development in the company, sales and installation of smart LED lighting. In addition to that, to sales and installation, his department educated potential and existing customer and partners of the company about the importance and benefits of installing smart lighting. In the last 2 years, he has shifted his focus to creating and improving company's new division, the company new brand, City Gecko. He invested lots of effort and work to strengthen out the brand itself, which goes from strengthening the people who are part of it. Most of the time, he's involved in development of City Gecko and its presence in European and world market. And the last panelist, but not least today, Milan Veternik is CEO of EO Mobility Solutions, which deals with the state-of-art solution in the field of sustainable and smart urban mobility and smart cities. He successfully completed his PhD at the University of Žilina with the focus on integrated transport planning, completed an internship in Dresden in the field of transport planning, participated in international training programs on sustainability, mobility planning in Leipzig, and transferred his experience on mobility department in hometown of Martin. As you can see, dear attendees, lots of experience here. It will be very, very interesting discussion. First of all, we will go to the keynote speech, and then we will deep dive into the questions. So, Stefan, I am delighted as a keynote speaker to pass you the microphone. Unfortunately, Stefan, I cannot hear you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Nate. And I'm now sharing my screen. This is like you cannot see my screen yet, right?
Yeah, you just exit out. You had your screen.
Okay.
But you exit out. Can you please do it again?
Right.
Okay, we see it now. Perfect.
All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited and delighted to give this keynote speech today, and then also to join the panelists in the discussion. Before I start with the content, let me quickly introduce you to AFRY, who we are. We are an engineering and consulting company based in Stockholm. We have 17,000 employees globally. So the headquarters in Stockholm, but we are in more than 40 countries in the world. We have a net revenue of 2 billion euros. And are doing projects in more than 100 countries. Our expertise is around infrastructure, industrial solutions, process industries, energy, and digital products and services. We have 6 divisions for that. I'm a part of the last one there in the management consulting on the very right. We do advisory in the area of energy, primarily mobility and bioindustries. So let's jump into the topic about mobility. Let's see what is the role of mobility in a smart city. And I want to start with the demand that when we look at, how is this demand going to continue? Also, for example, looking at the pandemic. So some people are asking, are we going to move as much as in the past? And I think this will certainly be the case. So the mobility demand is growing with GDP and of course the number of people that drives mobility. And as we see from the chart here, since 1995, goods transport has been growing by 41%, passenger transport by 34%. And that is going to continue no matter what. But the emissions and the scarce resources, that is where we need to make a turnaround. So transport of the future needs to work differently than it is today. And we see this change due to societal and ecological pressure and the technical evolution that we see in the mobility market. There's, I think, hope, and we definitely see the whole sector undergoing a transformation. And what that exactly is what we're going to discuss in the next hour. But let me give you a little bit more data. And so this shows that in Europe, transport sector represents the #1 emitter of air pollution in cities and the second largest source of CO2 across Europe. There's only one sector that emits more CO2, that is the energy generation, the energy supply industry. But then transport comes next before the industry and buildings. So, and that is really important to understand, and also because transport is the only sector where CO2 emissions are still rising. When we look globally, there's still a strong rise in transport sector, while most of the others, if not all the other industries, are reducing their CO2 emissions. Now, why does then the city matter? I want to remind you briefly that 68% of the world's population will live in cities by 2050. Today, it's around 50, 55, 56%. So this is where we should start, because also urban areas occupy 5% of the planet's surface and account for 70% of CO2 emissions. So this is where we can really make a difference. And the difference is made through the societal trend and the change that we're seeing, the consciousness of environmental consciousness that has started to grow in the society. Also, of course, activities in the political will in governments and organizations toward a cleaner economy and to avoid climate change. Secondly, then technologies. Let me look at let me share the 5 trends that we see, and that will, I'm sure, look very familiar to you. Decarbonization, of course, is all about reducing the share of fossil fuels in today's transport system. And so that's where we see a big push towards electrification of transport. Also hydrogen can be an answer, or biofuels for some of the transport systems that we see. Secondly, connectivity. That's all about embedding sensors and actuators and computers in everyday objects in transport. That can be roads and rail and cars and bikes and traffic signals, and communicate. Let them communicate between them, and so that we can, for example, avoid crashes, accidents, right? That make the communication safer, the commute safer and more efficient. Thirdly, automation. So this is where we are going to see maybe the biggest change in the next 10 years, where we are going to have autonomous vehicles on the road, on the rail, that are going to commute without drivers, and that of course reduces the cost for transport very dramatically. And this is an angle where now we see also a bunch of new players entering the mobility market. So this is where, for example, the Waymos, the Nvidias, the Qualcomm, and so these kind of people are coming from, and they and looking at this angle and entering mobility space, the tech companies. Sharing is, of course, an important trend that that we see since many years. It's growing relatively slowly, but constantly, and so don't write it off. If you have now felt like, okay, through the pandemics, maybe people have been careful about using bikes, shared bikes or cars. This is a trend that's going to continue. And it's really something that we need to push, and that's what we're going to see. So in the future, there are going to be fewer cars, but those that will be on the road will be more heavily utilized. Lastly, the 15-minute city. It's something that we see also across the globe almost, and it's about allowing people to live and work at well close to each other, and you do commutes by walking, cycling if possible, and make the world a little bit more local and supply them with everyday things, activities, and goods locally. I want to highlight just a few points that to frame the discussion, and one is the electric car. Obviously, that is an important factor when we talk about mobility, also in cities. Cars are providing 80% of the transport capacity today, and that will not change very quickly. Also, the car ownership, it is it's not reduced so quickly as we thought maybe five years ago. It is going back, but not as quickly. So people have also in the city, a lot of people want to keep their cars. And so over time, that's going to change. But now we need to find very quickly a solution about how we at least can electrify the cars that are there. And as you can see there on the left, the number of electric vehicles is increasing very rapidly, almost exponentially. And that really has put stress on the charging infrastructure. So one of the big questions is, how can people charge their vehicles when they live in the city, when they need to park on the side of the road or in the garage? And at the moment, this is not a very pleasant user experience always. It can cause waiting times, different apps, different ways to authenticate. And but the good news here is governments are spending billions on improving this charging infrastructure. It's something that we can discuss further, or we're going to discuss further in the during the conversation. Another aspect is the decarbonization of municipal buses, and that has a high priority in all cities. We see that even regulated by the European Union, that up to 45% of the buses that will be introduced in 2025 must be decarbonized. And by 2030, 65% need to be decarbonized. And that is a really good sign, because, of course, these vehicles are very heavily utilized, and they do a lot of kilometers in the city. And this is a fleet that can turn electric very fast because of the high utilization and the large impact. So here, a lot of basically all cities are working on this, also because they have to, but because they want to as well, to improve the quality of life, not only in terms of air quality, emissions, but also noise. The change, though, is bigger than it first might look like, and so it has to do with even changing bus routes, and overall energy strategy in the city. How can, for example, more electricity or even hydrogen be supplied to the buses? Where should the fuel station be placed? What infrastructure needs to be set up in the depots, on the streets, and so forth. So it's a complex topic that the public transport operators and the city governments are facing. A bunch of other transport modes that I want to mention, and I'm not able to go into this into detail, but we can, I'm sure we're going to discuss this as well later on. So it's the other transport modes that are going to be relevant in the city. Of course, railbound transport remains to be the most efficient means where the infrastructure is in place, at least. That is, you know, undergrounds and trams are just so efficient and so much more efficient than private cars, and we need to you know, increase that where that's possible, and so that is going to play a role in the future, no doubt about that. New mobility services, micromobility, scooters, e-bikes, other battery-driven light vehicles, of course, they're on the rise, and that's also a trend that's going to continue. We are going to see more of that. Autonomous driving, as Nate said in the introduction, I've been involved in deploying some of those, and I'm sure that we're going to see them very soon in the next 3 to 5 years. So there are, and we're going to touch on this also later on in the discussion. The last one, it's a little bit different. So it's not vehicles, of course, but it's the infrastructure that needs to become smart. And this is about, for example, submitting information from traffic signals to the vehicles nearby, submitting information from cameras or LiDARs to, let's say, automated vehicles and additionally detect, for example, pedestrians or cyclists, and hence increase road safety. So those are all topics that we're going to see in the next few years. I want to end, this is the last slide, want to end on a positive note and really show how you know, things have changed also for the better in the last 10 years. Air quality across Europe has improved very significantly due to the use of technologies for emission reduction and for monitoring itself. So we see particulate matter 2.5 and 10 that have been dropped by 19 and 23%. Nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides, also all of them very strongly have been very strongly reduced. And why is that? Of course, because of directives, political will, and then improvements that followed in terms of the you know, improvements in the internal combustion engines. When it comes to transport, there are also other sources, but when it comes to transport, the better combustion engine has changed that, increased efficiency of the transport systems. So, for example, improving traffic flow and reducing speeds, adjusting speeds, for example. And then lastly, and that is something that's really important, that we have the monitoring capabilities as well. Now, there are thousands of air quality sensors across Europe that can continuously and automatically monitor the quality, forecast emission levels. And so that is the control factor, basically, the data capturing, the data analytics, and the data sharing factor that is really equally important to see where we're going. If you want to keep in touch, please connect with me on LinkedIn. And with this, I want to close the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Was a really exciting and insightful talk. I'm very excited to deep dive into the questions. So let's go to it. Nicola, by your opinion, why it's important, what is the importance of smart mobility in the cities?
Thank you, Najat. First of all, good morning to everyone. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the UTech to be part of this topic. Also, I want to express the gratitude to be also part of these wonderful speakers. As Mr. Schäfer already explained, the big importance of the smart city mobilities in cities is huge. Why? Because there is an old saying, time is money. So we all trying, we're always in the rush. We're always trying to reduce this traffic time. Nowadays, also in big major cities, there are a lot of traffic jams. So the e-mobility is trying to reduce that. And also other effect, which is very important, is actually the planet Earth, the climate changes, the decarbonization. So the importance is huge. And as you could see, all these numbers and statistics that Mr. Schäfer showed us, that there are a lot of initiatives and investments from the I would say the most developed economies in the world that are trying to shift on the new way of transportation, using the electrical cars, using the e-scooters, using the autonomous cars, etc. So we are now part of big transition, and the future will show how fast will we shift and change to new ways of transportation, but the importance is huge.
Thank you, Nicola, so much. Tilman, almost the same question. Why does mobility remains such an important topic on cities and future cities or today's cities?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Ned. And of course, you could think after the pandemic, we can do everything from home, so no problem. We don't need mobility in the future anymore. But already the data Stefan showed us proved the opposite. So people want to move. They like to do it for leisure, but they also have to do it to do their work. They also want to have transportation for moving goods. So therefore, the wish to be mobile is increasing also in the future, and therefore we need to find smart ways to do that in a sustainable way.
Thank you, Tilman, so much. Milan, you stated in your bio that your goal is Internet of Mobility. Can you elaborate a little bit that, please?
Yes, of course. Thank you, and good morning to everyone. So maybe I will start a little different with an emphasis on openness, standards, and collaboration. The Internet of Mobility platform we are building utilize semantic interoperability as well as blockchain and as a distributed technology to provide trust and consensus for all business actors within the mobility ecosystem. And we believe that interoperable, decentralized, open, and cooperative systems offer much more benefits compared to existing centralized systems controlled by a single owner. So that's our goal. And yes.
Thank you, Milan. Thank you so much. Stefan, you tackle different types of transportation, but I think our audience would like to hear, because there's more electric cars And what is the role of car are going to play in a city? What is your opinion about this?
So let me be clear that I'm sure there always are going to be cars, but not everywhere, and maybe not in the city. And we see this increasingly in cities like Paris has now banned combustion engine vehicles in the inner city. We see more of those. Other cities are discussing this. Madrid, for example, and Stockholm, London, they have introduced congestion charge many years ago, and I think we will see more of this. It's going to be more expensive to drive and to park a car in the inner city, and there will be a reallocation of space. And we see this, I think, in all of the, you might see this in your city, that over the last few years, new bike paths have popped up and are remaining, and the car is becoming, it's getting less space. And I think that is a trend that we're going to see continuing.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you so much. Nicola, again, back to importance of mobility. Why should we get everything connected? What is your opinion?
Yeah, this is a very good question. If we want to have autonomous transportation, which is actually our future, everything needs to communicate between each other, from traffic lights, from other vehicles, from the passengers, from everybody, from the people, from pedestrians and everybody. So in order to have the autonomous transportation that will function with no problem, everything needs to be communicating live. This is what I think 5G will provide us, and also there will be an increase in IoT sensors, because everything needs to be live, everything needs to be online, and everything needs, to communicate as fast as it can in order to avoid some kind of traffic jams, disasters, etc.
Thank you, Nicola. Tilman, what characterized mobility in smart city? What is your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I believe there will be a lot of changes. Number one, the connectivity we just mentioned will lead to a more seamless change of means of transportation, so we can more think in moving from A to B. Already we see in the industry a lot of good technology being available to do that. Then I think it's very important that public transportation is more attractive. Also, having in mind that we want to reduce the number of cars in the cities and the individual transportation, so we will see more people using public transportation. Why? Because they are more secure than today. I think we have now the technical means to make them very safe, very friendly, transportation nice to use. Also, we can utilize the time better in public transportation. We can work, we can relax without disturbing others. All that is technically feasible today. Yeah, and then the planning will be smarter also in the future, so that the famous last mile problem, so how do I in the end come from a station to my house or to another place, to my destination, will be solved in a better way. So that today we have the scooters and are already a little bit happy, but there's more things to improve. So we need scooters that protect us from rain, maybe. We need have a better visibility where they are. We need to fight vandalism and so on. But all that I think is doable. So I see a great future of mobility. So, but important is really this connectivity, and also more a central, how to say that, a certain level of planning that is provided by the city when we talk about cities. And then inside these boundaries, of course, companies and businesses can be very active. but we need to have a certain plan. What do we want to achieve? Otherwise, we will end up in nitty-gritty chaos and will not reach a fast transformation. So I think that's important. And if we think back to our history, for example, the Americans did a great thing when they decided how the streets are organized in a city. You know, so this famous block system that helped a lot in the end to develop the city. So, and this kind of system we need to have for data and for the infrastructure. We want to establish how to ban the cars or reduce the cars. And then I think there's a great dynamic coming up, and mobility will look different, better in the future.
Thank you, Tilman. Thank you a lot. Milan, I believe if you go to any cities in the world and you actually show them what our mobility solutions are out there, they will all cherish that idea. But if they ask you where we should start as a city, what would be your advice to them?
Okay. Many of our panelists, for example, Stefan, but also Nicola mentioned smart infrastructure and, for example, some edge devices. So I will continue with this. And from our point of view, it is very important to start by building smart infrastructure at the edge layer. For example, when we're solving bottom-up interconnection issues, we recognize the power of the cloud and big data, but also recognize that the performance will be significantly reduced or even eliminated if the edge layer is not properly set up and managed. Properly designed state-of-the-art technology enables interoperability at the edge layer, and more importantly, IoT systems must have the ability to complement and above all effectively support all the currently popular and established systems. So from our point of view, it is important to start from the edge layer and continue with other layers, for example, connectivity, integration. But still, we need to think also about some other parts. For example, Stefan mentioned in his presentation.
Thank you, Milan. Thank you so much. Now, Stefan, back to the cars. I'm really wanted to hear more about how this electrification will happen. I mean, it's inevitable that we're going to switch from fossil fuels to electric cars. The trend is there, but how it will happen, and when is a point where people are going to change their cars or switch to electric?
It's
a massive scale.
It's a very good question, and living as an EV driver myself, living in the city of Munich, I know what I'm talking about, and I found it harder than I thought to charge my car in my garage. I live in a multi-party dwelling. And when you need to arrange with your neighbors about how and when are we all going to charge and equip basically the garage with this infrastructure, that is not an easy task. But I think we need to overcome this. So we need to be able to, and there will be solutions for charging cars in multi-party dwellings. Not I showed this picture about the cars that are parked on the side of the street, and so there's going to be some of that as well. But the area, a third area that I also see developing very quickly now is the EV charging hub in the city. So similar to what we see along the motorways, that we have a high power charging. There will be similar charge points also in cities, so people can charge their cars similar to how they today buy gas. So get I don't know 100 kilometers in 10 minutes or less. So that is something that we are also going to see.
Thank you.
Different variants, slow charging and fast charging, I think are both going to be extremely relevant.
Thank you so much. Nicola, we have different transportation solution, we have different technology solution. How they go versus unified solution? Can we make a kind of leverage between those different solutions?
Well, this is very interesting question. I think only this question requires a webinar for itself. But at first, I think different transportation deserves different technologies, because I always believe in this positive competitiveness. So there will be a lot of companies with their own solutions. So let them compete and let the market decide who is the best, who is the most effective one. But how we look at different technologies and different solutions is we also have the infrastructure for the e-mobility, our bus station and our charging station for e-scooters, and how we actually looked at it is there will always be a new version of it. There will always be something better, something innovative. I think the leverage is in compatibility. Whatever technology is coming, is it different for different transportation or completely different? I think the keyword is compatibility, meaning that everybody that comes or that somebody has different solution and technology for different transportation, it should be connected with each other so we can communicate together. So I think this is the keyword for this question.
Thank you so much. Tilman, what are the technical or not technical premises to organize mobility in a city?
Yeah, since we are all technicians here, maybe I start with the technical side. I think it's very important, and we do all see that already in big companies or big organizations, that it's very important that we organize our data in a proper way. So if we want to digitalize, and we have to digitalize, then we need to work with data. What does that mean? So we need to be clear, how do we collect the data? Milan already mentioned how important the edge layer is. Then we need to also to decide how do we manage data governance. So who can in the end authorize or decide who can have access to what kind of data, and also managing this accessibility, making data available in a safe way. That is, in my view, very important from a technical point of view. In infrastructure, it's very important to be compatible, like Nicola mentioned, and also that the change of, for example, transportation means is made easier for the people, so that I do not have to walk 15 minutes from changing from a train to an electric car or something like that. That is also a technical precondition. And standardization. I mean, if we can learn a lot from history. If we would have not standardized our mechanical world, if we would not have standardized our electrical world, we would not have reached anything. So therefore, we need to standardize our digital world as well. We need to standardize standards, how we share data and so on. What is already on the way, but we need to be much more strict, and we need to have more and more qualified people in the organizations. So that's a little bit the technical side, very important, but it will not help us if we do not take the people with us. if we do not explain to people what is possible, why we want to change, why is there a benefit that we have less cars in the city. So all that is very important, because then we also will see this push or pull, however you see it, for example, to electric vehicles. We need to set the financial frame, because that is also driving behavior. We did see that last week in Germany, when the government said, now we think about offering a very cheap mobility ticket for, in the first step, limited time frame. A lot of people were very interested and said, oh, I will leave my car at home, I will change. So this is also something not very technical, but it motivates people to think about change. So when they see their own benefit or advantage for that, because overall many people feel that there needs to be a change and they want to save the planet, but we need to build the bridge so that we say, hey, this is the way we can contribute to the change and make it easier for the people. And maybe to close my statement, I have similar experience like Stefan. I also live in Munich. I also drive an electrical car. I have the luxury of living in my own house, but simply to apply for my own charging station, I first had to have my own energy connection, and I had to wait for the approval. So even having money and technicians to install everything is not sufficient. You need to have the authorization, and German bureaucracy can very hard. So it does not help us if we wait then a couple of months for a simple charging station in our private house. So things like that need to be addressed. It's not always a technical thing. It's a political will. It's we need to take the people with us and the decision makers.
Thank you, Tilman. I have two raised hands, Nicola and Stefan. Do you guys want to add something? Or it's just...
Yes, just a quick comment to Mr. Tillmans. He mentioned this last mile and how to combine everything. Well, we have we're at the beginning, and we have one positive example here in our hometown. So the first thing is to build up the infrastructure. So what we actually started, we installed a smart bus station with the charge station for the e-scooters. And we also have a few of those electrical scooter chargers throughout the city. So our idea is the following, as Mr. Tillman explained. First, to build up the infrastructure to have, let's say, 30, 50 bus stops that will communicate with somebody at home when the next bus is arriving, and also to interconnect it and to put in this app also where are the scooters. So the idea will be you're at home, you need to go somewhere. Then you have the app where you can see the nearest scooter. Then you use the scooter, you go to the station where you already know when the bus will arrive. Then you use the bus, you get to your last bus stop, and from there you can already see and maybe book one of the scooters that will wait you on the last stop. Then you use the scooter, and then you will be able to drive last mile. Hopefully in the future everything will be electrified, everything will be carbon free. But this is something actually that Mr. Tillman is talking about, the last mile. So I'm at home and I can very easily, with 2 or 3 clicks, I can see the route to my end destination to the last mile. This is something that takes time. This is something that also needs, especially here from where I am, from Bosnia, needs to start, to shift in the mentality of people that this is possible, but building up the infrastructure and doing everything is a process. And also, it doesn't have to be everything from one producer. Different company, a different solution must be complementary to each other, even with different technologies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicola. Stefan, you want to say something?
Just briefly, yeah, I wanted to emphasize Tilman's point about the non-technical changes, and that is really true. That is, and the harder, the more difficult thing, and really, I think the point what we are struggling with. So it's much more difficult to change the political side than introducing any type of technology. And so I'm talking about increasing, like, let's say, parking fees from 20 euros a year to 200 euros a year if you want to park in the city, to reduce speeds, to, you know, change anything, whatever it might be. That requires political will, and you know, we're kind of missing the politicians that are, you know, daring to dare to make such bold moves, because they know, well, it's not popular with everyone. The changes we need to do are not popular with everyone.
Thank you for comments. Milan, can you tell us a little bit more? Ecosystem is the word where everybody is using it in digitalization, digital transformation. And can you tell us more about smart urban mobility ecosystem? What is that all about?
Yes, as you mentioned, today everywhere we can hear about ecosystem, digital ecosystem, and many other things related to this topic. And also, my colleagues mentioned many things that are related to this. For example, we can imagine the city like our body, and it's also the ecosystem. And if some part of our body doesn't work, and it's, for example, broke up, and we have some problems, and the same is in the city. So we have developed and are still working to create a smart urban mobility ecosystem, and that is also connected with other parts of the city, for example, lighting, environment, safety, and many other systems. And this mobility ecosystem, we divided into 10 different parts. For example, public transport, traffic management systems, smart parking, EV chargers, micromobility, and shared mobility, mobility as a service, or cooperative ITS. So currently, these sub-ecosystems can also operate independently within cities, but the goal is to be interconnected. And as we know that these solutions interact, so if a city handles parking in one location, it can affect not only parking, but also overall traffic in another one. So this is from our point of view, how we see the ecosystem, and each part of this ecosystem has to be involved, and then the system can work.
Yeah, I would like to add that it's important, before we go into the details of the smart systems like smart parking, for example, we need to know what we want to achieve. So if I want to make the people using public transportation to go to the opera or to any event in the city, then I need to think twice if I optimize the parking system with a lot of money, or if I support maybe public transportation or make it easier really to go from home to the opera, and even can wear a good suit or don't need to worry about anything. So that this is what I'm a little bit worried about, that we optimize in a very random way, and invest here a little bit and there a little bit, and in the end we are too slow in making progress. Also, the architecture Milan mentioned in the beginning, is so important that simply smart people sit together and discuss the IT architecture of the midterm future, and then everybody has a direction where to go. Then we can start being innovative, and we don't need to tell people how to solve a problem, but we need to say where we want to go. I think that's really important, and we need to have politicians that take that. What we see right now, I know Germany is not the world, but I live in Germany, so right now we did see, as a reaction to the crisis, energy crisis, and even made worse with the war, that politicians react like they reacted 30 years ago. So they were thinking about making energy or gasoline cheaper again. No, it's better that we think about how we need less gasoline, or how we save money on the consumption side of the coin. So that's something we need to always take into consideration when we discuss technical solutions that are very important, of course.
Thank you. Stefan, we mentioned cars, but also in many cities across the globe, the buses are a great deal of transportation. Even where we don't have trains electrified, they are using also fossil fuel. So let's stick with the buses. How we make the gasoline buses go away, or how we decarbonize all municipal buses?
Yeah, we see, and I mentioned that in my presentation. So there are efforts underway in every city around the decarbonization. So it's electric buses. Typically, where that stands is that electric buses have been introduced as a pilot, at least in most cities. So this was the first stage, and now basically where we are in this process is that we are shifting up gears. Public transport operators are now looking at rolling this up from, let's say, 5 or 10 buses they might have today to 100 or 500 they will need to have by, let's say, the end of the decade. And that, of course, is a huge change. So it's like basically the step between a prototype and a real product. That's what's happening at the moment. Prototype works and everyone likes it, but now taking it really in a production and scaling it up to hundreds of buses in large cities, that is really the challenge. It has to do with the change of depots, with the connection to the grid, with local energy generation, with storage, with intelligent charging, and so forth. And this is really the challenge for many public transport operator and for the industry at the moment.
And
Yes.
if I can add one thing, Ned. It's very important that the cities learn from each other. So we don't have the time that every city is undergoing its own experiments, and because there are so many different technical solutions available, some are more efficient than others. So therefore, I think it's very important, like we see with digitalization, that we learn from each other, so that not every city is seeing what is the best system for charging my buses, because there is already a pilot city for each and every technology, and so we can talk to the industry. We know where the cities are, and then we can see that. So there's also, for example, very smart solutions to have a wireless charging in the ground, so we don't need wiring or other charging stations. We simply charge at the place where the bus is stopping, and it's fast enough, so you can charge a bus in 2 minutes to go to at least the next stations. So all that is there, but we need to learn from each other, select the best suitable solution for a specific area, and then implement.
Thank you. Just want to mention that there's some questions and comments in chat area. If you Wanted to check, please. Nicola, as we know, there's so many stakeholders here: cities, solutions providers, academics, of course, citizens, politicians as well. They have all money, for smart cities. So why you think this? What is your thoughts on this collaboration? How they can pitch in, and why everybody is important?
Well, we already been to this process, and this is how it, according to my opinion, should work. So city should have the initiative and to define the problem. What actually do they need and what do they want to improve? For example, city of Banja Luka, where I am, they wanted to increase the usage of public transportation in order to reduce the traffic jams. Then we have the solution providers, actually the I would say the stakeholder who can actually provide the infrastructure and who can use their experience in how to do it. Then also it is very important to use academics because academics are people who has the calculations, who knows or who should know how to implement in which direction should they go. And lastly are the citizens actually who will use all of this and then they will give the feedback. Is it good? What should need to be improved? Did the mistakes were made, etc. So everybody needs to be involved because everybody has the stake in all of this. And we actually made it possible in one pilot project here in Banja Luka, where we involve everybody from academics, from the city, and of course, eventually in the end, the politicians are the one who needs to provide the financing. So not only I say, but in this scenario, everybody needs to collaborate together because everybody has to say in this. Somebody has the problem, somebody has the solution, somebody has the idea how to make it more efficient, and in the end, you have the users who will give you the feedback: are you on the right track or not? So it's very important to collaborate. Most of the time, it's very difficult. Sometimes it's slow, but when you manage to have everybody on board, then it's the perfect combination.
Thank you. Tilman, we can combine this question from Mr. Damien and yours. Your next question I want to ask you. He was asking about balance between expectations of visitors in regards to privacy and monetization of data, personal data. So that's also in related to IT security and how that slows down because people are afraid to leave their data, what's going to happen, and the different perspective, different mindsets. They are ready to swipe their credit card in a supermarket, but they are afraid to swipe smart card for transportation. So what is your thought on that?
Yeah. Number one, yeah, it's true. The risk and the fear of data misuse is rising, and we all see that every day as a private person or as a company or an organization. But it is possible, like it was always possible in the technical history, to work against that and to establish a certain trust in certain solutions. So like we someday learned to trust a bank that they keep my money safe and don't give it away to other people. We need to build the trust that there are systems that can keep my data in a safe way, and that also that there are companies building a train, for example, that can protect the train from being hacked and therefore creating a lot of damage to people or to the society. But this is not happening just by talking about it. You really need to be transparent. I think that's very important. Also, I see a lot of improvements in the last couple of years with social networks so that they are more transparent, and those who are not so transparent lose customers or lose people. So we need to be transparent also as cities, as public organizations, tell the people what is happening and walk the talk. Then it's also important to train people. So we need to have people in everywhere that understand how data security can be safeguarded without jeopardizing the performance, because this is something we don't want to have. So we need to qualify our organizations for that, and not have only just a few experts, because data safety is everybody's task. And then when we have a conflict between commercializing data, that was the question of Damien, I recall in the chat, and using the data in a smart way to optimize mobility, optimize transportation, we need to do what we always did. We need to have some guidelines. For example, I take a simple one, advertising in the cities. Many companies would like to use all the surfaces to place their advertisings, but the city said, okay, a little bit advertising is okay, maybe people even like it, and because it's also driving their, I don't know, shopping experience or helping them to decide on the right product. But we don't want to do it everywhere. So there are places where we don't want to have advertising, or there are places we see even a risk to do that. In a similar way, we can also rule how we handle data and how can we make our systems safe against misuse.
Thank you so much. Milan, what are the basic parameters of building digital IoT system in regards to mobility?
Well, we speak about mainly from the technical point of view, three key parameters or principles of building a digital IoT system. We call it, for example, OC. That means the first one, openness. Every component or device or solution must be open so that it can be easily connected to some parent system, such as a smart city platform or anything like that. The second one, the standards, that means connectivity and integrability is based on the ability to use existing standards, whether technological communication or some IT standards. And the third one is interoperability as the highest principle of the whole digitization process in the city. And thanks to the interconnection at the ledge layer, as I mentioned, the communication time is reduced, and so these three principles we see that are necessary to think about when we speak about building digital IoT system. But there are also some another parts that were already mentioned in previous discussions, for example, from Tilman, Stefan, or Nicola. So it's really a lot of to think about when we starting to build the system like this.
Thank you so much. Stefan, we talk about vehicles, electric cars, just switching to a different energy source. But what about autonomous vehicles? They are out there. So what is required for them to succeed? Is it 5G, or is it bigger than that?
Yeah, so let me start with let's say, so I mean, autonomous vehicles, they are there. They're here, they're around us. They're not, the future is here, but it's not evenly distributed. That's how I would describe it. They work in places like San Francisco, Phoenix, and also in tens, if not hundreds, of European cities. What we need to do, though, to really make a step forward is to basically get rid of the safety driver. We have an additional safety driver in all of the vehicles today, and we need to, and that's going to be needed in the next for a long time. That there needs to be manual intervention at certain moments when the autonomous vehicle cannot cope with what's happening in the real world. So there must be human intervention, but that human cannot be always in the vehicle. So we need to take the safety driver out of the vehicle in a control room where they can control from remote. And you're right, in order to do this safely and reliably, that communication, the remote control, reliable communication is needed. That is certainly 5G is one of the answers, but there can be also other, local communication protocols, and so that we allow any kind of reliable, and that's also redundant communication that cannot be hacked. And then I think this is the key step to really advance this technology, get rid of the safety driver in the vehicle.
Tilman?
I just wanted to add to Stefan's statement that I see similarities to the development in the rail industry. There also we have the issue that we want to introduce driverless vehicles, but of course it's easier compared to the car area. And there we also did see that, I don't know, the technology is there since many years, but in Asia, the first cities were brave enough to use driverless systems. And it took a while until European cities also were brave enough to do so. And now even very conservative, I hope nobody from Nuremberg is here, or if yes, he agrees, very conservative cities like Nuremberg in Germany also now introduce driverless systems. Why? Because the passengers feel more and more comfortable with systems like that. So because in many cities, it's only the passengers that feel better when somebody is really sitting in front, but it's from a technical point of view not needed at all on the rail system or in the metro system anymore. But so therefore, I'm very optimistic or positive that the same adjustment, development of trust will happen on the roads as well. But we just need to be patient. So the people need time to change.
Yeah, thank you so much. We have a question from Miroslav Jurik. Basically, Nicola tackled this question on priority, and Nicola said something about cities basically realizing what's their priority. But from your side, and he's mentioning different solutions like public transportation, pedestrian, cycles. So focus on economical activities, individual mobility, cars. And he's mentioning that Netherlands is a great example. If cities is asking you as experts, what would you basically, and this is a question for all of you, of course, what would you recommend them to be their priority? Anybody?
Yeah, I take what I already mentioned in the beginning. I think it's really important to develop this big picture. So no matter if I'm a company, a city, a region, whatsoever, I need to develop a big picture and then leave, of course, enough room for innovation inside this picture. But I need to somehow set the scene for where do I want to go. And then in the second step, I can ask experts, so what technical things need to be fixed, like, I don't know, how can I make my data available? What architecture do I want to have in my ecosystem? And that's it. And then further on, we simply need to set priorities of our use cases. So what is maybe bringing the biggest benefit and so on. more the economic side of the coin. But before I do that, I need to develop this, let me call it picture of the future. Mobility picture of the future.
Thank you. Nicola, what's the elements of smart mobility in the future? How you see the future?
If we talk about near future, my opinion is that only the existing technology will be more and more present, from semi-autonomous car, from electrical car, from e-scooters, from electrical buses, etc. So this shift from standard cars to electrical cars and let's say electrical transportation altogether will be more and more present. As everybody was talking about an autonomous car, I don't see that in the near future we would have completely autonomous cars on the roads, because I think the infrastructure technology does not cover yet 100% of the roads, 100% of the passengers. There still needs to be, I would say, the human factor that needs to react if possible. But definitely in near future, I expect that there will be more and more electrical chargers on the street, electrical cars, electrical scooters, etc. So the number will increase.
Thank you. Stefan?
Well, I just to make it more interesting, I want to disagree with Nicola on this, that we need to have 100% coverage of all cases for autonomous driving. That's never going to happen. And that's why I'm saying, okay, we need to be pragmatic and allow human intervention from remote. If we wait for 100% coverage, it's never going to happen. Nothing is going to happen.
True.
Okay, maybe just 30 seconds because we have 4 minutes. 30 seconds last statement from each one of you to audience, something that you want to point out. Maybe we can start with Milan.
Okay, maybe at the end I would only summarize what was already told, because again, during this last conversation of Stefan and Nicola, it looks that the most important is starting with infrastructure, but on the other hand, we need to think about the people, how they react, and we need to work also with the politicians and to give them some advices what they should do, and we need to find some strong politicians and maybe some mayors that have to make some they have to decide that they want to change their minds and want to help people to live better and to plan the city for the people, not for cars. So maybe that's from my side.
Thank you. Stefan?
I want to come back to what Nicolas said on the edge computing. That's really what we're not taking care of at the moment very much. And I'm convinced myself that also that there must be more happening at the edge to increase road safety and efficiency. I'm just not sure how quickly that's going to come because of the chips shortage. So that really holds us up a little bit there. But I think in the midterm, it can be solved. One other point I want to re-emphasize, and that is the technology is the easy part. Political stuff, that is the hard one, and that is what we need to work on and really, discuss with people on the street, and convince and get or exchange ideas and find a better way forward. It can be done.
Okay.
Thank you, Tilman. Your 30 seconds.
Yeah. So I just want to add on Stefan's comment. So if we want to drive that change in a fast way, we need to use the power of our economic system. So if things are economically viable, then people will go for it and they are creative. So therefore we need to adjust the parameters to drive that. So I'm very optimistic then we'll be successful, but we need to use the power of our system.
Thank you, Tilman. And Nicola, your 30 seconds.
Well, pretty much everything is being said, so I completely agree with everybody. Yeah, as a conclusion, first to create a bigger picture, to realize what they need, and then to sit together and try to come up with a unified solution and how to realize modernization of the transportation infrastructure. It can be very slow. It can be very, like talking to the walls with the politicians, but we always somehow try to explain them that directly and indirectly these investments will pay off. So maybe this is some of the key points that they will listen. But yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So looking at the time, this is all questions and we have for today. I want to express my appreciation by saying thank you. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Nicola. Thank you, Tilman. Thank you, Milan, for your participation. And thank Marcus for introduction of Core EU Tech. And of course, thanks our audience to joining our session and dedicating your time. At this stage, I want to, as you can see on your screen, this is a little thank you from European Technology Chamber. That European Technology Chamber is actually promised that we will plant 1 tree for each and one of you in Africa. So with this act, we will actually increase a number of trees in Africa, and of course for better of our planet. So thank you, Stefan. Certificate for Tilman, certificates for Milan, and of course certificate for Nicola. In next couple minutes I will send it to you, so you can have these digital certificates. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next European Technology Chamber Smart City digital event. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all of you.
Bye-bye. Take care.